DIY or Die, Walker Vapor Group LLC, or any of its associates do not condone nor encourage the use of nicotine, vapor products, or any mood altering substances without the explicit consent of a physician. The content viewable on this channel is strictly for entertainment purposes only and not meant to be seen as informational or educational. Must be 21 years or older to view these materials.
Silky Pete. What is up, beautiful people? Welcome back to a glorious episode of MIXINVIXENS. My name is Emily, also known as mlNikon. And let's say hello to our other Vixens. First up, we've got Jennifer, TheJuiceFairy.
How's everybody doing? It's lovely.
Hello. And then we have Rin. How you doing, Rin?
Hi.
The lovely mixtress. Lumi's not here today. She's kind of feeling under the weather. She had her second vaccine and it hit her hard, as they do sometimes. So she's not here today, but that's okay. We will still try our best to soldier through without her.
That's right.
How is everyone's weekend going?
Well, my weekend was fun. I just chilled here at the house. I did a lot of cleaning yesterday. I was actually looking for something, so I ended up cleaning my whole house trying to find it. And guess what? I didn't find it.
You didn't find it, but now
But I have a clean house.
You have a clean house now, so yeah, that's cool.
I got to see my daughter on Friday. She stopped by to drop off her dog on her way to the mountains. She's been in school and working all summer, and so she's taking her EMT, getting her EMT certification. So she's been riding in ambulances all summer.
Cool.
And she had her final, and so she had like 20 days that she was working or in school straight. And then now she took her final on Friday, and she was like, "Okay, Mom, I'm dropping off the dog for 4 days. I'm going to the mountains. I'm getting away from it all." I was like,
for her.
So I only saw her for like 30 minutes. I was like, "But Mommy wants to see her baby." But that's
awesome.
okay.
We got to see her for a little bit while she dropped them off.
20 minutes. But that's okay. That's okay. She deserves it. She's worked her ass off.
Yeah. Good for her. She deserves a break, you know? Worked her butt off. Yeah, my niece is visiting for a couple weeks, so we went to a place called Butterfly World today, which is pretty cool. Like a huge indoor like garden, and there's butterflies just loose everywhere, and then there's ponds all over the place with turtles in them, and then there's like just quail just running around free. It was pretty cool.
I like that.
Yeah,
nature kind of situation.
Yeah, and we did
a natural habitat.
Yeah, it was as natural as you can get, pretty much, you know. So it was pretty cool. And then we went hiking to the river, and so we've been doing some stuff and keeping busy this weekend.
She's doing a 4-mile bike ride is what she's doing. But it's all downhill. So it's the easiest bike ride ever.
Really?
Yeah, they literally go to the location. They pay $40. A bus picks them up. They fit them for a bike. They ride them to the top of the mountain, and then it takes them 4 hours to ride all the way back down to the location.
I can do that.
Yeah,
as long as it's downhill.
It's all downhill. Sure. But it's a beautiful sightseeing, you know. But it's still 4 hours.
Nice, I bet. Yeah,
you're stuck till you get down yourself.
Yeah, you're still active for 4 hours. It's still hard work, but
yeah,
but it's downhill, so that's cool. Well, as you guys can see, the profile this week, I think Dave submitted it, and I picked it because I love all things gooey and rich and desserty in vape form. So, because I can't really eat them, so I like making them as mixes, and I had a blast this week fact, I made 100 or a 60 mil of it. I liked it so much.
I liked mine so much, I made a 120 of it.
Nice.
But I mean, and I was, and to be honest, I wasn't looking forward to it because I'm not in
No?
the, no, I'm not in the mood. I'm in a fruity mood. So I'm not in the mood for nothing gooey and thick and creamy. But then after I made my 30 mil and it went down really fast, it went down in a day. I was like, oh shit.
Oh, yeah, I gotta make more of this.
Yeah, because it's just so different. You know, I've been mainly doing fruit and menthols all summer. So this just was like
Yeah, something nice
completely,
little change of pace, right?
yeah. And it was really a really nice welcome change of pace. I don't know how long I'll end up vaping, how many days in a row I'll end up vaping it for, but it's one of those things where I know it's going to continue to get good.
Yeah. Awesome. Rin, did you like mixing this up?
It was okay.
Yeah.
Not really my profile, but
Yeah.
it was all right.
All right. Well, let's just jump into it then. Why don't I go first? I don't think I've gone first in a while.
Okay. Sounds good.
So, yeah, I just did named mlNikon's caramel pecan dessert. I decided the picture looked like it had pecans in it. So what I did was 2% Wonder Flavors caramel salted, 1% of the chef's super concentrate dulce de leche, 2% of Sobaki super aroma. Is that SSA? Milky caramel fudge. 1% chef's super concentrate pecan nut. And then I did 3% Capella sugar cookie and 1.5% Wonder Flavors vanilla cream extra, just for that kind of vanilla pudding note that you see in the picture. And I gotta tell you that from the milky caramel fudge, if you guys don't know, like it's an ooey gooey, like rich. So is the salted caramel. They're very like soft crack state type gooey caramels. And then the new chef's super concentrate dulce de leche. Oh my gosh, if you guys like dulce de leche type flavors, I really recommend getting this one if you're shopping at chefs. It is like really like dark and rich and just very creamy. You know, it's got a little bit of like a sweet kind of spice note to it, but like it's not too spicy. Like it's just kind of has something there that makes it a little different from something like, you know, Jungle Flavors or whatever. You know,
So that cookie note that you put in there, that's just basically for sweetening it and giving it a little bit of a different
yeah, it's just
nuance,
to
right?
add like well, it's just to add a little bit of like kind of buttery sweetness to it, you know. And like the picture, I couldn't tell if there was cookies in the thing or not, but I'm like, you can't go wrong with sugar cookie.
Right. No, I
add-
completely get it.
yeah.
I just knew that you're not going to be able to pick up cookies in it.
No, it because sugar cookie's so soft and like kind of mushy, it doesn't really stand out as like, oh, there's cookie in this. But it's really good. I really enjoyed it. I've been vaping it all week, and if you have flavors, I highly recommend mixing it up. In fact, I recommend getting the flavors if you don't have the flavors because it's freaking good. That have any of you guys tried that Chef Super Concentrate Pecan Nut?
No, I haven't tried it yet.
So, yeah, I want to talk a little bit about that too before we move on to somebody else's mix. It's different than any pecan that I've ever had. It's got like a really nice kind of roasty darkness to it, but it's not roasty in the way like some of the nut flavors, they kind of have go coffee on you a little bit, like that, you know, when they're trying to do that roastiness.
Right.
This one's a little bit more mild of a roasty, you know, kind of like maybe a little bit like smoked butterscotch by Flora.
Right. So
It's really nice. It's a dark sweet, little just mild roastness, and the pecan flavor isn't too like bold in your face. It's just a nice kind of mellow pecan, however you want to say it, flavor. I really like it. Normally, if I'm doing something where like I want pecans to be like the main note, I probably would just use this as an accent, like with another pecan. But because the picture is mostly like the caramel and the pudding and stuff, and there's just a little bit of pecan mixed in, I didn't want it to be the main note. I used this and it turned out fabulous.
Well, that's good to know. I don't have that flavor myself. Have you tried that flavor, Rin?
I haven't tried any of the chef's
Yeah.
new flavors.
Well, next time you're shopping at Chef's, I would recommend picking some up because I haven't tested them all yet. I think I'm up to like 50 or 60 now, but there's quite a few that I'm pretty impressed with.
Pretty good.
Yep.
That's good to know.
You'll have to let me know like what your top picks are or
Sure.
recommendations. Because I
Yeah,
thought
sure.
about doing butter pecan too, because it does look like it'd be perfect.
Yeah.
But my go-to are one-on-ones, and I don't really want to use them if it's not super easy
I
to get a
know
hold of.
one-on-one butter pecan is so good, but like you're right. Do you want to be accessible?
Yeah.
You know, or do you
Especially
just
for
wanna
our judges. I feel bad every time they judge, they have to pick up stuff, and it's like, well,
yeah.
I'd rather have them at least be able to get it all in one place if they have to buy
Yeah,
something.
no, that makes sense.
Right. And even if they don't, if they don't have something, then they'll skip the recipe. So it was delicious and they don't feel like picking it up, then they won't make that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, true. They do have 4 from each of us to choose from, but no, I get it. I get it wanting them to have options and being able to mix what they want. So
Yeah, and I was gonna use something else, and then it turns out I don't have it anymore. So I'm like, oh, well, I guess
Oh.
we're doing something else.
so you went in another direction. Well, since we're segueing into that, why don't you go next?
So I kind of cheated because there is a recipe of mine from years ago. It actually won Wayne's flavor, it was like the favorite dessert of 2020. That trifle thing that I made, Autumn Memories. So if you want something that's based upon a profile, like that one would fit this perfectly. I used the cream combination from that recipe for this because it would be good for it. If my things will come up. But essentially I wanted to make, instead of like the gingerbread trifle, I went spiced cookie. So it's similar, but a little bit different. So the cream combination I used for my last trifle was 0.5% Flavora cream, 1% Flavora pudding or vanilla pudding, 1% TFA whipped cream. For the cookie layer, I just, because mainly I'm just looking for the spice from it. As Winston said, it's probably not going to taste like cookie because it's buried in creams. So I used 1% of Vape Train biscuit base because I really liked that flavor. It's a nice mixture of like nutmeg and cinnamon, like all the things that I would want from a spice cookie. And then I added 0.5% of golden syrup because the actual recipe, what it's supposed to be, has golden syrup in it, and I haven't used that flavor. That's really the only reason I used it. I couldn't tell you if it's really doing anything because it's got so many other things going on, but it's in there. Yeah, I'd recommend a couple days just for the creams to come out and the biscuit base to kind of meld in with them. But yeah, this to me would be good in probably a month or so, like more fall, because that's when I personally like the cinnamons and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's fine.
And that whipped cream from TFA, that's not very vanilla-y, is it?
No. From what I recall, I used it, well, mind you, I was using TFA whipped cream in a lot of stuff at the time. Essentially it's just I use it as a smoothing agent. It has a lot of triacetin in it, which is a smooth. Like if you have ever heard of TFA smooth, that's what it is triacetin. And the TFA whipped cream has a lot of it in it. So essentially I just use it to boost creams. It doesn't have a heavy vanilla note, so it's like if you want the whipped cream effect without a super strong vanilla note, TFA whipped cream is what I would recommend.
I bet it sells really well, the pudding aspect of it, because of the triacetin.
Yeah,
That looks
yeah, it's really
good.
nice.
I love that golden syrup flavor by Vape Train too. Like just to add that little bit of darker kind of sweetness and little, yeah, that looks really good. Really simple, kind of simple, but like what it looks like. This looks like one of those mixes that would be a good like all day vape, you know?
Yeah,
Not super exhausting, yeah.
I had a couple of other things in it, but it just wasn't working, so I kind of just removed them because at one point I think there was like 7 ingredients. I'm like, this is just, it's too much, because like for me, I find that I have to pick like what I want to be forward, like, and I can only really focus on like 2 things. When I try to do like 3 and 4 and try to get them all to like come out, I don't have a lot of luck with that. You know, I can only layer so much personally.
Yeah, I'm like that too. It kind of turns into a muddled mess, you know. So I try to pick, you know, just maybe a couple things that I want in there and just really go after them, right?
Yeah, and I mean it sucks because like I have a lot of like thoughts like, oh, I was like pairing golden syrup with honeycomb to make like the golden syrup like honeycomb flavored.
Yeah.
It's good in theory. It didn't really work. It had a weird,
Yeah.
it was weird. So I'm like, okay, well, you're out. But
and that's okay. Like, I'd rather have a really good juice with like 2 main notes in it than an okay juice that it has like 5 or 6, you know, things going on with it.
yeah, I mean, some people are really good at layering. Like Winstead seems to be pretty good at like, you know, some of hers have like a lot of layers to them. I don't have patience for that. I
Yeah,
try
but
like
my layers also are just playing off specific notes that I pick up on the main layer. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to make 2 flavors create one. You know what I mean? So even though I add a lot of things a lot of the times, which I've gotten better at, I've just condensed it some. I don't normally. My goal is never to try to create something more complex. It's usually like if I have a vanilla, add a little bit of let's say almond to bring out a specific note in that vanilla. You know what I mean? But it's not. I mean, I would imagine that trying to create that honeycomb and wafer thing would have taken a lot of time to get the percentages balanced.
yeah. Well, I suspect with you've been mixing so long, you have your own kind of layers that you use to create. Like,
yeah, I think that if you pay attention to me, a lot of times it's the same like little niche things that I put together with each other.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, you know, you gotta do it.
Yeah.
But
speaking of, I did that with this recipe.
Oh, let's move right on.
But I didn't do it too bad. But I did use some of my basic Jennifer little things that I do. So
right,
I tried a new flavor. I did the butter pecan pralines ice cream from Purelum because it smelled delicious. But I did boost it to 4% because in single flavor testing it, I couldn't pick up too much of the pecans in it. It was just creamy, ice creamish. But I did read notes out there that say that with time, the pecan does come out more. So I just used it at 4%. I went what I considered to be max if I'm going to add other things to it. And then I used Flavora butterscotch at 1% because it looked like, you know, there's several layers of creams in there. And vanilla custard 2 at 3% to make it like a butterscotch ice cream type deal or pudding. It sells it either way. It doesn't really sell an ice cream. It sells more of a pudding in it. And I figured that TPA vanilla custard 2 would blend well with the butter pecan pralines and the butterscotch. That was my thought process. And then of course, whenever I do pecan anything, I usually use caramel. So I did just that. I used a salted caramel at 0.75%. Another thing I like to add to my butterscotches is Jamaican rum. It doesn't sell Jamaican rum heavy in this recipe. Instead, it sells more of the caramel part of it and more of a brown sugar note in it because it is at 2% and everything else is so high in the creams that it didn't really translate. And then I did meringue at 1%. But you know what? I'm gonna have to update this recipe because I moved it. I did it in ELR first, and I moved it here, and I left out the AP. There is 0.5% AP in this recipe to bring out more of the pecans and the pralines part of the butter pecan praline ice cream. So I'll update this on all the flavors. It definitely is in my ELR recipe, and I just wanted to point that out because that's another thing I usually add whenever I'm doing any kind of nutty notes. I do add the AP to it, but I didn't want to go. I went 0.5, which is pretty high, but with all these creams, it doesn't come out that much. It just adds the nuttiness to it instead of the cookie part of it. And I didn't want to add a cookie because I didn't want to add any more sweetener after using the salted caramel for my own personal taste. But in the notes, you'll notice that I do say that if you need it sweeter, 0.5% of sweetener would work in this as a dessert.
Yeah. I never would have thought of using Jamaica rum, but now that I think about it, and obviously having that flavor many times, it does have a really nice dark kind of syrupy sweetness to it. Yes. That would lend itself really nicely with the butterscotch and caramel.
Right, and it doesn't come out as a rum because it is so dark and sweet, and it isn't very boozy. But it does blend really well with that caramel, giving it that drizzle, that dark drizzle. So it does, as far as the taste in it, it does taste like some sort of caramel and brown burnt sugar is in a pudding of some sort with some nutty flavors and some pralines in it. Now, mine has been steeping for about 7 days now. I think I made it last Sunday. But I am very hopeful that on day 10, it's going to do that magic stuff that Steve does. It was good on day 1. It was better on day 3. On day 7, it's getting really rich and more creamy. So, I mean, I think I'm at about where the steep time needs to be. I think it's going to be about 10 days steeper. But we'll see how much longer, what it does with time. That's why I went ahead and made 120 because 30 mils goes too fast for me. And I want to vape and steep at the same time. So I want to let it steep. So I had to make a bigger bottle.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Absolutely. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on when you make it a little bit longer.
It's delicious right now. It's deep, dark, thick. It's good.
I was wondering, have you tried one-on-one's butter pecan ice cream?
I have, and I have it. I just chose against it for the same reason that Rin did.
How the two are different.
I think one-on-one is sweeter, and it's more buttery.
Okay.
This one's creamier, more like a pudding.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it's got nutty notes. It's just, I think that I needed to pick here whether I was going to accent the pecans or I was going to accent the butterscotch. And I opted to accent the butterscotch and the caramel because I originally, in some of my different renditions, I had toasted almond in one, and I had Kentucky bourbon in another one, and I had butter pecan from Flavor West in another one. And then I just scrapped all that and went to the one that was the heaviest on everything without all the extra fluff stuff. Without adding too much. Kind of like what Rin did, where you're like, I think I'm trying too hard. Especially we have to make one every week. I wanted to make one that was good without me having to mess it up because I'm trying too hard, I was trying new things. It's a new flavor for me. So I was like, okay, let me not mess with it too much.
I'm so glad that both cities now are carrying Pure Plum flavors.
Right? Yeah.
I am too, because I really debated also on the marshmallow from them versus the meringue. But again, since this is something that we do every week, I wanted to go with something I definitely know. So that's why I used meringue instead of the
Yeah.
marshmallow. Little by little, you can't introduce all new flavors in a new recipe. You got to test them each, a little bit at a time in different things. You can't just, it'd be too difficult for us with
Yeah.
coming up with something every week.
And you don't really know how that flavor acts if everything's new. Like that's
Right.
kind of how I shake or single flavor test a lot these days. I'll find stuff that I'm familiar with, and then like the new flavor will be just
Mhm.
the new
That way you
element.
can pinpoint what's going on.
Yeah.
Right. And if I only have one flavor that's new to me, then I know if something's off that it must have been that flavor. It's easier
it
to tell
doesn't-
apart. Even if it's one of the other ones, I can tell which one it is because I am familiar with the other ones.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, there's plenty of times where I've found a flavor and I single flavor test it, and then I find that it doesn't work well with like a lot of things. So it's like single flavor testing is good, but it's annoying, and it also doesn't really give you a clue as to how it's going to act with
How it's gonna
other
work
stuff.
and stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea to do if you completely don't know anything about the flavor, but at the same time, like using it in something like a simple base that you're familiar with, or a simpler mix that all the other flavors in, it would be good to kind of see how it interacts. Because a lot of times I find, like doing noted, something can taste one way on its own, and in a mix can be completely different. Like I've been completely grossed out by a flavor, single flavor testing it. And I see a recipe that otherwise looks really good, but I'm like, oh, but it's got this flavor in it. It's going to be awful. I'm like, all right, I'll try it anyway. And I do. And it just works really well with it. And I really end up loving the flavor.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I've rarely found that to be my case, because when I don't like a flavor, there's a particular note that I've picked up on the single flavor test. So then when I vape it, I pick my stupid nose will pick up that dang flavor, even when mixed with other things. Like one perfect example is the Candy Wizard from Flavor Art. There's a particular note in that, and in their dragon fruit. There's a note in those, and I don't care what I mix that with, I will find it.
You'll pick it out. Yeah.
I will find
That's
it.
like with me and Zapola. It sticks out like a sore thumb to me, and I will pick it out no matter what it's in. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's why I don't like things with a lot of acetylpyrazine or adding it as an additive, because way back in the day, I did a single flavor test with just that, and it was awful.
Yeah.
So now
But
it's
forever
like,
burnt in your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and Joy is another one
Oh, yeah.
because I single flavor tested it and I did it high.
Did you ever try Slash's donut? He made a blueberry donut and it uses Joy. It's like the only recipe I've ever had that uses Joy really darn successfully.
I haven't, and I don't own Joy anymore, and I'm not
Okay,
really
then
willing to
never
buy
mind.
it.
Don't worry about it then.
Sorry, Slash, I love you, but no.
I've not made it, but I mean, I've
Oh.
tasted a few things with Joy that were successful. However, I never made them. That's a lie. At least I could say that when I tested Joy for about 3 or 4 months, I was using it at a reasonable percentage before I ever decided to try to use that shit at 1.5%. Then I found notes in it that I was like, oh, this is terrible.
Yeah.
And then now I know that it has to be to that percent, because my brain differentiated the two different notes. I never went high first. I went low.
That's the danger of when I'm doing all these single flavor tests. If I do something too high, I've ruined it forever. Yeah, it's probably too high, and it was my own dang fault. This is gross. But now, even if I go lower or put it in a mix, I've ruined it forever.
Ruining something forever is a terrible thing to go through, and it happens. And you know, I saw in a group the other day, somebody was talking about their recipe and how they haven't mixed it in a while, and now all of a sudden they mix it and it tastes plasticky. And I'm thinking, oh, they just messed up. They just crossed over that bridge
Yeah.
where they're finally have been mixing long enough that they're picking out off notes, and that mix is never going to taste good to them again. And no, it was
Yep.
not the flavoring, it's you.
All right. Well, excuse me. We did have a few people play along with us this week. I will go ahead and start off. The first one was Karen over at ELR. She's just Karen S. And she did a trifle mess. 3% Purellum butter pecan, 2% vape train cinnamon donut, 1.5% mulberry classic sponge cake, 2% Purellum cookie, 0.5% Capella golden butter, 1% vape train golden syrup, 3% TPA vanilla custard 2, and 1% Flavora vanilla pudding. Man,
That looks really good.
this looks tasty. Yeah.
That cinnamon donut smells really good. I haven't mixed it yet.
Does it? I haven't
smells
tried it yet. I think I just picked it up a little bit ago, but haven't had a chance to mess with it yet, and I'm anxious to. Is it cinnamon donut kind of similar to, like, you know how Wonder Flavors deep fried pastry dough kind of, you know, has that? Jennifer, have you tried cinnamon donut?
I have not.
I'm wondering. Yeah, I'm wondering what it's like. You know, what's the cinnamon like? So I'll have to.
It smells similar to the Capella cinnamon sugar, which I like.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good cinnamon. Awesome. That makes me excited. I might have to try this. Dang it, Karen. My to mix list is always running away from me. It's always getting longer than I can mix. You know, fast it runs. I add to it faster than I can mix the stuff up.
Yeah, I have a whole folder in ELR and it just sits there because I'm just lazy.
Well, I started with like a OneNote, you know, like notebook type thing with the mixes I want to try. But that's what happened is I never mix them up. And so now I just have a bunch of just random recipes in a notebook. So I switched to a little like that Post-it note on the PC and just have a list. And I'm like, okay, like I have to mix from this list. And like I can't, you know, if I want to mix it, it's going on the list.
Got it. I don't even do that. I don't even do that. I just look at them and say, oh, nice. I put the little heart on it on ELR or wherever. And I'm like,
And
I
then never
try
look
that
at
one
it
day,
again.
and then I just don't.
Yeah, I have to put
There's
it on
a
the
few
list or
times
make it.
that I've seen somebody say something about a recipe and I've been watching a show. That's when sometimes I'll go mix it because I'm in the middle of doing nothing, watching a show, and somebody will talk about a recipe and I'll be like, oh, that sounds good. And I'll go mix it while I'm still watching the
There
show
you
and
go.
shake it up and, you know, vape it then. But
But
if I
you
don't do it
mix
right then,
it probably won't get mixed.
it won't get mixed.
All right. Jennifer, you want to read the next one?
Yep, I got it pulled up right here. It's Jenny Sims, and she did caramel butterscotch trifle. She did butterscotch from FA at 1%, caramel from Capella, the V2 version at 2%, shortbread cookie, SC Wonder Flavors at 2%, vanilla custard, TFA at 3%, and vanilla whipped cream from Capella at 2%. This looks very good. Looks like a very vanilla forward recipe. It looks like a vanilla custard sort of without the custard, without the eggy notes. And the shortbread cookies probably bring in the butter and the caramel. V2 from Capella with the butterscotch. This looks like a pretty good butterscotch recipe. It looks more caramelly than butterscotch, but
Yeah, I
it's
bet
still
that FA butterscotch is there just to kind of boost or accent the Capella caramel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it looks more caramel than butterscotch, but it looks like a very good with pudding style
Yeah, it
recipe.
does. It does.
It looks like it would be an all-day vape too. It doesn't look like it would be over, like mine is really thick, so I'm not sure if it would be an all-day vape, but this one looks light and fluffy. It looks good.
Yeah. I don't have too much experience with Capella Caramel, and I definitely don't have the V2.
I have the V2. I use it because I have it. But I still prefer V1, and I prefer salted caramel over all of them. It's a good caramel. It's not bad. It's kind of
It's just
buttery.
kind of like a middle of the road, not
Yeah, it's
terrible
just
caramel,
a
right?
good caramel. It's not a bad
Yeah.
one.
Nice. Thank you, Jeannie, for sharing. That looks awesome. All right. What we got next?
I can do amber.
All righty.
So she did syrupy ginger trifle. She did brown sugar from VSO at 0.5%, ginger snap by Flavora 0.25%, maple syrup, flavor art 1%, rum baba wonder flavors 1.5, super sweet capella 0.5%, vanilla pudding Flavora 1.5, and whipped cream fresh wonder flavors 1%.
Nice. This looks really good too. I never thought of putting a little bit of ginger snap in there.
Yeah, I tried
about-
that. I didn't like it in
How
mine.
about that rum baba?
Yeah, that rum baba is good. And you don't really see it used very often. Have you tried it, Jennifer?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's good, right? It's just
pretty good.
and it would add a lot of that kind of dark, deep, like syrupiness to it to kind of boost the brown sugar and the maple there.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, nobody needs to boost maple, but I mean, I know what you mean.
Yeah, true. No, yeah, Karen or Amber, this looks good. I like it. I like where your head's at. All right, I will do Joni's next. And she just did caramel toffee gooey, #MB. She used 0.5% Hankson caramel toffee, 1% milky caramel fudge by SSA, 0.5% Capella Super Sweet, 1% vanilla ice cream by Chef Super Concentrate, and 1.5% Flavora vanilla pudding, and then 1% SSA whipped cream. I bet this is super like rich and unctuous, as Chiba would say. Because well, SSA whipped cream is, I love that whipped cream. Like it's a real nice, it's like a buttery, like rich whipped, like heavy whipped cream, And
Yeah.
then the Chef's Super Concentrate vanilla ice cream also is a real nice, rich vanilla ice cream there. And SSA Milky Caramel Fudge is becoming one of my favorite caramels.
I don't know that I've tried that one yet.
It's really it's real gooey and rich, like I mean it's fudgy, right? Like it's got that chewiness that you have. A lot of the caramels that are out are just thin,
Thin,
they just have
yeah.
like the caramel top note, where this like has some body to it. That and like the Wonder Flavor salted caramel, because and Flavor West salted caramel is one too. It's got a little bit of body with it as well. But and it's interesting, the Hanks and caramel toffee. Have any of you guys had that flavor?
No, I don't love a lot of Hanks and stuff.
Yeah, I don't have very much Hankson anymore.
I like the caramel toffee flavor. It's got a really nice caramel note, and the toffee is a nice, rich, dark, a good toffee note as well. So I bet this looks really good too. Dang it. Good job, Joni. This looks absolutely, epic.
You're just screwed this week because everything is in your wheelhouse.
I know it is. That's what it is. Yeah. I'll probably be like that tomorrow when everyone goes over the recipes for Butter Week. I'll be mixing, adding a whole bunch of stuff to my list too. But yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
pick
'cause
up.
this is the stuff I like to vape, it's caramel and ooey gooey.
Ooey gooey. That's what I called mine, was ooey gooey. I couldn't come up with a name.
Yeah, I see that. I saw that. All right, Jennifer, you want to go?
Yep,
Darcy
I
next?
got it pulled up right here.
Nice.
I got Darcy. That is the one that was next, right?
Yeah.
So she's butterscotch ribble, flavor west at 3%. That's a really good choice. I almost did that as well. Caramel FA at 1%. Eggnog Flora 1.5. Vanilla pudding Flora 1.5. Darcy is right after my heart because all of those flavors were flavors that I had played around with and I had pulled out. And this looks really good. The eggnog and the vanilla pudding at 1.5 each, to me, feels like it's going to be an eggnog pudding with butterscotch, making it nice and sweet. And that caramel from FA darkening it up, being like the drizzle. So, I mean, this looks really good to me.
Yeah, man, you guys are just knocking it out of the park. Yeah, the eggnog is a really cool idea.
I think so too.
Yeah, give it that interesting spice note.
I
don't
keep
think you
forgetting
could've-
about that flavor.
Yeah, right?
I don't think you could have gone wrong with any of these flavors. On this week's picture was so imaginative, and it had just the darkness and the cream and just so drizzled that it's good.
And you can't go wrong with butterscotch ripple. That's probably one of the best butterscotches still.
That's the one that I didn't have that I was looking for.
Yeah,
yeah.
That stinks. I looked for mine and I really debated on using it, and then I was like, I don't want to add any more sweetness. I just had to eliminate flavors that I had pulled out. I had pulled out all the butterscotches, all of them. But these are definitely flavors that were on my desk. So this is a good one. This one is a woman after my own heart.
Very cool.
This is one that would go on my to mix list because it doesn't even have that many ingredients to it.
That's right.
Who wants to do nuggy? I can do nuggy. I can just back to back it.
Sure.
Got it. So nuggy did Bavarian cream from Jungle Flavors at 2%. Cornish cream SSA, that is so delicious. Cream caramel from VTA at 1.5. Dulce de leche Jungle Flavors at 2%. I've never tried that. English toffee VTA at 1.5. Toffee ice cream VTA at 2%, and super sweet from Purelum at 0.5.
Dang, man, you guys throwing this toffee in these mixes. Looking good.
This looks really good too, and I love that Cornish cream. So
yeah, it's good, that Cornish cream. And and creme caramel too. I keep forgetting about that flavor by Vape Train.
I don't have that, and I don't have the dulce de leche from Jungle Flavors. Do I need that dulce de leche?
It's good. It's like, well, it's TFA but better. You know how they do. It's like TFA's but better. It's a little bit darker. It's a little bit richer. So I think it's definitely worth picking up next time you're picking up flavors. But the creme caramel, what I like about that one is it's lighter. It's kind of like Warner Flavors caramel butter. You know how it's a little bit like a lighter colored caramel. It's real like milky. So, but I think would be a good balance with that toffee and stuff, So cool. Well, that's awesome, guys. Thank you everyone for sharing. I think that's it. And that's
a wrap.
Well, we gotta talk about next week's. You picked this one, I believe.
Well, then it's gonna be fruit.
And it was submitted by Addie. Yeah, that looks like a smoothie or like a milkshake, like a raspberry milkshake or something. Yeah, it'll be a nice, refreshing kind of change of pace to go to fruits. Jennifer will be happy, I'm sure.
Yes. It is fruity, a little bit creamy, but not a whole lot of creamy. It looks like raspberry. Definitely does not look like strawberry, and that's why I picked it, because you know strawberry and cream is always a thing, but raspberry cream.
Raspberry and cream, yeah, a little different. So yeah, that'll be fun. I'm excited to work on that one because I don't normally, I don't do fruits a lot, and I've been doing, especially with all these desserty mixes, and now the ones I just put on my list, I'll be having tons of butterscotch and caramel type pudding mixes to make. So it'll be nice to change it up and do something fruity.
Well, that's why I try to pick something fruity each time so that we'd have a break from the desserts.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
Yep.
All right, well, I guess that's it. We'll wrap the show up here, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and watching. If you like what we do and you want to support us in a fun, tasty way, there's a couple places you can do that. We have one-shots over at DIYFlavorchaser.com. Those same one-shots are actually now at Chef's Flavors. If you happen to be shopping there to picking up the one-on-one flavors or any of the new Chef Super Concentrate flavors, pick up our one-shots as well. We would really appreciate it. Or over at Flavor Jungle, Rin and I still have some one-shots there under the MIXINVIXENS logo. So we would definitely appreciate that. If not, we love you anyway. And we'll see you next week. Everyone have a good night.
Bye.